My first filming in 2021, 2021, 2022. Cameras there as well. That was all wrong.
Still here, Kev. You're still talking, aren't you? Still here.
As you can see, I've changed things up a lot for 2022. You know, very different hair, very different dress sense going on. I've started drinking cups of tea. Very different filming style. What do I think about New Year's resolutions? For me, I tell you, they're not a good idea. And I think that must be the same for lots of people. You tend to set too many goals, go for all of them too much, and burn yourself out, and therefore think you failed at them all when you actually have failed at them all, and feel very, very bad about yourself, and your mental health and your depression, if you suffer from that, is a lot worse. Bad idea. However, lots of research shows that having goals is the best way to achieve things, whether that's in your personal life or your career. Although, to be fair, that same research does also show it can lead to depression, anxiety, and a reduced sense of self-worth and self-esteem. So it can be good. It can be bad. So goals might be okay, but for me, New Year's resolutions is a setup for you to fail and feel really bad about yourself for something you didn't even need to feel bad about in the first place. So no to New Year's resolutions, but possibly yes to goals. However, that research we were talking about also shows that there are many common mistakes. The most common mistake is to overwhelm oneself. For example, saying you're going to exercise more. What you actually do is today, the 31st of December, you do everything exactly the same as you have been doing for a long time. Tomorrow, the 1st of January, got that right, I was going to get that wrong then, 1st of January, what you do is you start doing masses and masses of exercise and try to continue that every day. Of course, eventually burning out. Almost certain that's going to happen, it's just a matter of time. And in most burnouts you become very ill for sometimes quite a while, and you tend to give up, and therefore you've failed. That's what you think anyway. Another common mistake is unrealistic goals. This is something that isn't actually doable, attainable, practical, or even something that just isn't very likely. And you also focus on the failing results. Another common mistake, interestingly, is to almost kind of not even know yourself, or at least sort of ignore who you are. What we mean by that is similar to what we were saying about the change from one day to the next and the burnout. It's kind of thinking you're somehow going to fundamentally change your way of life, even your personality, tomorrow, in a day. Let's stick with that exercise example. Let's say you absolutely hate exercise, you want to do more, but the fact is you hate it. You've tried it at times, you've done some, you've given up. This is my life story, by the way. Perhaps actually you can do some, but you get bored. Perhaps you hate the gym. That idea is just a no-no. Certainly the case for me, you know, the idea of doing it in front of people, trying to use machines I don't really understand. No, anxiety all over the place there. Okay, so let's say what I've just described, that's you. So why on earth would you decide that from tomorrow I'm someone who goes to the gym every day and works out for 2 hours? It makes no sense. You need to account for yourself, recognise weaknesses you have and potential pitfalls you might have. Otherwise, guess what? It ain't gonna work. What can happen here? Again, the burnout. I've done a video about burnout before. It's a couple of years ago now, I think. I'll link it up here or up there. No, I think there. I always forget. Pushing too hard, harder than you're capable of, harder than your body will allow, harder than your personal circumstances will allow, harder than your mind will allow. It means it's just a waiting game for the crash. Another common example is setting goals to do things that you don't like, even though it doesn't particularly add any value. For example, exercise, you might not like it, but that can potentially add value to your health. Is your mind really going to allow this long term? Why not set goals to do things that you already like, or to start something that you think you're going to be very interested in? We neglect to set new goals for things that we already love doing, we are already doing day to day. Even worse than that, we take time away from doing the things we love to try and achieve goals doing things we hate. What are we doing? Underestimating completion time is a common mistake. Can I, Kevlo, train for a marathon and run it in 3 months? No! Can I train to run for a marathon in 1 year? Doubtful. Can I train to run a marathon in 3 years? Maybe. Can I train to run a marathon in 5 years? Sounds more doable. I'm not going to, by the way. Some other little common mistakes we make. Jumping on micro errors. One day off, 1 day's failure, something like that, as failing the task completely. Not assessing why we had a failure and learning from it so we can move forward and continue to succeed. Listening to other people's goals and setting other people's goals for yourself. Setting negative goals. What we mean by this is best displayed by a couple of examples. For example, okay, I'm going to lose weight. That could be seen as a negative goal. Whereas saying I'm going to be more healthy is a positive goal. Saying I'm going to work less, I suppose, could be described as a negative goal if you compare it with I'm going to spend more time with my family, doing my hobbies. That's a positive goal. And finally, of course, setting far too many goals. Set 1 or 2. However, all is not lost. Because going back to what I said at the beginning, setting the right goals and thinking about them in the right way can be very good for you. They can be good for your mental health, they can be good for pursuing your dreams, they can be good for keeping you productive. So I guess my message would be keep your goals realistic, set yourself a very, very reasonable time, keep reassessing what you're doing, perhaps make it a project rather than a goal. And that's what I think about with New Year's resolutions. That's how it started. We didn't really talk much about that. But you get the idea. See you later. Although, to be fair, that same research just show there are common mistakes also shown in this research. Don't like it that way around. The same research we were talking about also shows that there are... That same research also shows that there are That research we were talking about... Lost my thought. For example, saying I'm going to exercise more. What you actually do is do the same as you have been for a very long time, do the same as you have been today. For example, saying notification. Shit notification. For example, sorry, that was gross. For example, saying you're going to exercise more. What you actually do is today you do the same as you have been, and in most cases following the burnout, you kind of give up, you become ill. No, you do that the other way around. Let's stick with that exercise example. Pushing too hard. Harder than your... I just thought of a GIF I could put in pushing too hard. Immature. Harder than you're capable of. Harder than your body will allow. Loud. You're just going to get bored. Why not set goals for things that you already like or that you're really interesting? Wrong.